Hello everybody, thank you for watching. I'm going to do another 100,000 subscriber thank you video. This is for 600,000. I promised at 500,000 a little conversation about my printing press, which I'll show you today, but I'm not going to print. The weather kind of got out of control and I couldn't get to it, but I will get to it, I promise. So that's going to be on hold until I can get it going. But today I'm going to show you everything in my house and on the property that I found in the garbage. A few weeks ago on Snapchat, I just kind of impromptu started walking around and showing everything that I found in the garbage, and I realized then and there that it made a really good collection. So we'll take a look around and I'll show you everything that I found in the garbage for free. So this phone booth was used in an art exhibit in the Lower East Side, and then the guys who hosted the show got stuck with it, and they called me. They know I take junk, and they said, do you want this phone booth? Otherwise a scrapper is going to come and take it. So I grabbed it, I backed my pickup truck right to here, and I pushed it out, and it's been standing here for about 4 years. Occasionally people could see it from the street when the leaves are gone and they want to buy it, but as of now I haven't sold it. So phone booth, I use it for a prop. One of these days I'll make it into a time machine, I'm not sure. So just like in the city, people know that I collect junk, or they know that I could make things from cool stuff. And so one of the guys that does the grass and keeps the grounds for me once in a while, I mostly do it, but he helps me out, Mr. McNiven, gave me a set of 4 of these from an old tractor that rotted away on his property. It's actually not a tractor, but a hay trailer. I have a set of 4 of these good wheels. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. Maybe I'll make a chandelier, maybe I'll make a trailer, I'm not sure. The 4th wheel is over there. This is something someone gave me. The Beaumont is a little better than this, so I don't use this anymore. This was something that crushed up corn with this big flywheel, and it sat here until all the wood rotted away. So this was a full functioning big thing, and then all the wood rotted away, and the only thing left is the metal. It's unfortunate. One of these days I'll use the flywheel for something. Out in the field of the 40 acres there is what used to be the dump for the people who lived here over the last couple hundred years. And when we go in the dump we always find cool stuff half buried. It's like an archaeological dig. It's a lot of fun. And we found this in there, 25-gallon clay pot with no bottom. And then we actually found exactly the same pot for sale. We ended up buying it for about 50 bucks. But every time we go out there, we're looking for the parts that are the bottom of this clay pot. So this is a gorgeous clay pot that was actually in the garbage out there. I got some friends down at the South Street Seaport, and they were throwing out a bunch of stuff, and they called me and I took this. I don't know what I'll do with it, but for now I use it to keep people from driving on the grass. And then if you guys remember, I have this big giant chopping bandsaw. So I've talked about this before, but in the context of things that I got either from the garbage or got for free. This big giant Kalamazoo chopping bandsaw, which since my last video where I showed it, I actually put a blade on it and I got the belt moving. It works really well. It's a 110 volt motor. Oh, and there's another mice nest. Haven't used this in about a year. I'll leave these guys be. But Kalamazoo chopping bandsaw, probably from the 1940s. I'm missing the original legs, so if anybody knows where I can get a set of original cast iron legs, they usually make them into table legs. This is from the garbage too. This is a stand for something, but it happened to be just similar in shape and size to what I need to put this on. So for now it's sitting on this ugly stand, but if anybody knows where I can get a set of these legs for this Kalamazoo bandsaw, look me up. So the history of my property was, I think it was a milk farm for most of the time that it's been a farm. It's over 200 years this has been a farmland all around here. And as we go through the woods, me and Taylor and Willie, we find things in the woods. This is all from the woods. Wheel hoops from carriages. This is all from my property that we found a little bit at a time. They're all steel hoops that were around wagon wheels, and the wagon wheels have since rotted away. And this is what happens when you put your Adirondack plastic chair too close to the fire. There's my axe that I just made. I made it to actually use up here. This is an old ice chest that we use for storage. This was getting thrown out in a move out. My cousins gave it to me. So it's a real old ice chest. This is a wooden workbench. My cousin bought a house, a different cousin, and he needed this removed, so I came and took it from him. So this is a semi-sturdy workbench. It's not the best, but we use it as a little side table here. This is a bookbinding press. I think I paid $50 for this. So I did not get this in the garbage, but this was free and this was free. And remember I made that? So this table I made in a rush. We had a whole bunch of people here one weekend about 3 years ago, and I threw it together in a rush. We keep meaning to sand it and paint it. We have not been able to do it yet. But the legs I found in the street of New York City, and I grabbed them and they were laying in the yard up here, and that day I kind of made this quick table. These legs, this whole rack for one end, and this whole rack for the other end. And so it was a quick build. I just made this out of 2x6s, and the top is just rough cut lumber from the sawmill down the street. That one twisted, so I always intend on trying to take this one off and replace it. But the table needs a sanding and a painting for sure. So I have all these metal chairs. These metal chairs are indestructible. We bought them from Restaurant Row in Manhattan. I think they were like $50 each. But there's plenty of chairs I found in the garbage still here. This was found in the streets of New York. At one point I had a whole bunch of these, but they slowly break, and as they break we burn them. You see this one's already wearing out. I found like 40 of these, and so I use them until they wear out. They don't really last that well out in the weather, and so ultimately we bought all these metal ones to replace them, but there's still some good ones. Anytime I see like a cool antique chair, grab them. All the chairs at this table were found in New York City and the streets. All these, a set of 4. Look, there's Spike. There's Bear. And there's Yoko. Yoko, Bear. By the way, Taylor made these 2 side tables, welding, and got the butcher block. This mantle was from the streets of New York City. It was sitting on the sidewalk, and my friend who knows me sat on it, called me, and I went and I picked it up. He found it and kept it for me. I brought it here and I put it up there, so this is exactly how I got it off the street. I did nothing. This antique scale is off the streets of New York. It was sitting on the street. I grabbed it. I keep meaning to find like metal glasses that will fit directly in there, like dishes or something. One of these days. These shelves are right off the streets of New York City. Taylor made the brackets and waxed the wood. I cut them a little narrower, but this is exactly how they were off the street. I clean cut the ends, I made them narrower, and this is the same beam. We just cut it and moved the piece here and the piece here. So this grain carries through to here. So this mirror is from the streets of New York, found in the garbage. Off the street. But this as is was in the streets of New York. I got it down in Canal Street, and it put it on the back of my Vespa, and I was able to drive it about 20 blocks to get it back to where I could put it in my truck. Just like that, just as the patina is. This shelf unit was a Burt Bees display. I brought it up here and I painted it white, and I put some tchotchkes on it. All the wood on this work table, this dinner table, whatever you want to call it, all this wood was barn wood that was laying in the yard. Of course, I bought the legs from tablelegs.com. I made the frame out of 2x4s, and the top is all barn wood from the yard. This white display case my brother Joey found on 54th Street in Manhattan, with the glass intact and the shelves still in there. These shelves are beautiful. If you notice, they have rounded edges with a little swell at them. So they're kind of thick and rounded at the edge. They're real beautiful. So just like this, right on the street. Somebody put it on the street a few minutes before he took it. This piano was getting thrown in the garbage. My dad knew the people who were throwing it away. They called me and said if I didn't take it, it was going to be put on the street. keys are a little screwy and it needs a tuning, but it works. This mirror from the streets of New York, in the garbage. Missing this little bit of trim here, which I always intended on sculpting back in. I haven't done it yet. This beautiful mirror was on the streets of New York with the crack and the chip. But this whole piece of mirror was on the streets of New York. Taylor found it. This beautiful mirror was on the streets of New York. One unfortunate story about this though, it was in my apartment, the frame was all rotted. I glued the frame all back together in my apartment. And then while it was in my apartment, a ladder fell and broke the mirror. So we were both really brokenhearted. But we were able to save all the pieces and I glued it all back together with jade glue. So it's kind of, the glue is like over the whole thing. It matches the patina, but this crack I did, which is really a bummer. But we still have a nice piece to hang in the house. The cedar chest is from the streets of New York. This furniture, it's very vintage looking. It's not the best, but this was, we have it covered with cowhide now, but this couch and its matching chair were from a garage sale nearby. The owner actually was asking about it and the owner said, just take it. I'm tired of trying to sell it, so we got them for free. This giant chunk of wood, which I made into an obelisk, was on the streets of New York. I made it into this shape, but it was as wide as the bottom, just square and cut off. Piece of old spruce, I think. This flywheel is from Scrapyard. My buddy who works there saved it for me. This flywheel I bought at an antique shop for $100, so that's not from the garbage. This rat inside my rat table I found under my lathe. He was mummified. This isn't a video, you could see that in a video. So this hand which holds a plant, I made this about 20 years ago. This giant chunk of wood I found in the Lower East Side, but I carved this sort of hand holding a plant from that. These lamps, which I have about 5 of, I found in a dumpster in the Lower East Side. Now we have them hanging over this dining table. I have a couple in the workshop as my drop lights. They did not have a wire in them, of course. I rewired them and put an outlet in them. And put a light bulb base in them. This mirror I found in the garbage in New York. This mirror I found in the garbage in New York. Years apart and they're very similar, so we have them in the same spot. This chair I found in the streets of New York, just like this. I didn't do anything to it. This is a bit of a junk room right now. We have some stuff in here. But these 2 chairs I found in New York and I reupholstered both of them. So you can see they're in pretty good shape. We just, again, this is sort of, this particular room is like the back lot for the house. When we don't have room for things, we just throw them in here and then lock the door. This beautiful chair, I don't know exactly what the style is. Somebody could probably call it out in the comments. A bent back chair or Windsor, I'm not sure. With this sort of little double stabilizer. I have 2 of these that I found separately in the garbage. This is one, and I think the other one is in the apartment, but they match. Almost exactly the same. But what a beautiful chair, just sitting on the streets of New York. And I did nothing to it. This is as I found it. We've been using it for years. You might have seen the video where me and Taylor make this bench with these steel legs. Well, I didn't do much. I found this in the garbage in New York City. It was actually floating in the East River. That's why it looks so waterlogged. It's been kind of beat up by the East River. And we made the legs, and now it's a bench up here at the house. And there's Lucky. Woody, say hi. Oh, hi. There's Taylor. This table was in the Lower East Side. It was brown. When I brought it up here, I painted it blue. But this is a cute little table that expands, and it fits perfectly between the washer and dryer. That's where it's been for 10 years. This cabinet I found on the streets of Brooklyn. This mirror I found on the street in New York City, and I made the frame for it. But I like the texture of the beat up glass. The mirror on the back is all coming off. Let's go see what's upstairs. So this mirror I found in the street. This mirror I found in the street, but I made the cabinet for it. Cabinet I made, glass I found in the street. This beautiful toilet made by Waterworks, I'm sure it's probably very expensive, was about to be crushed in the back of a giant demo truck, and I saved it, and here it is. It's brand new. They were restoring a building in the Lower East Side, and he said they had too many of them, and they didn't need it, and they had to get a cleanup going. So I got that for free. Beautiful toilet. This sink I bought in Brooklyn for $100 off of Craigslist. The tub was here. This I bought online, but the tub was here. Found in the trash. Found in the trash. Bought at a garage sale. Found this in the New York City trash. This mirror I found in the trash, this bevel piece of mirror, but this wood was one long piece of molding from something, and it was long enough for me to make a frame for this. So this piece of wood was one long straight piece that I cut and made this frame from. So I found the wood in the garbage, found the mirror in the garbage. Here we are in one of the bedrooms. This lamp I found in the New York City street. I haven't been able to find a globe that works for it though, but the lamp works. This looks old, but it's probably new. Me and a friend found a series of these paintings, maybe 25 paintings, all made by the same artist. My friend still has them. I only have one of them here, but they were all made for a series, maybe a gallery show or something, but whoever owned them threw them away, and we took them all out of the garbage. This is one of them. This suitcase from the garbage in Long Island. I picked it probably 20 years ago. I've had it way longer than I've had the house. Just always in storage, and then when I started decorating the house, I put it here. These lamps. There's one of a girl, and there's one of a boy, which I'll show you is in another room. They were both sitting on the streets in New York. This lampshade is from the streets of New York. It wasn't with the lamp. The lamps were alone, the lampshade I got separately. There's a lot of stuff in the streets of New York. Look. This is from the garbage in New York. It's a typesetter's drawer. That little nightstand is from the garbage in New York. This is the other lamp that goes with the other girl. Found them in the streets of New York. This little side table I found in the streets of New York, and a few years ago when the style was to paint all this classic furniture one solid color, I painted this black. But this was sort of like a cheesy brown, but found in the streets of New York. This lamp, found in the streets of New York. Again, it looks vintage, but it's not really vintage. It just looks that way. These paintings, I all found them in the streets of New York. So there's a couple. There's one. There's two. And actually, this painting, I believe, when my dad was a fireman in New York, he found this in a house that was burning, and he saved it. It's been in my life for a very long time. It needs to be fixed up, but I took it out of my mom's attic and I brought it here. And this is a shelf I made probably 25 years ago. Sort of inspired Arabic styling. This is nothing special, but this was found in the street. These are all found probably at garage sales. This stool was found in the street. This incredible chest, which has a lock and hinges and everything, it's not locked, I could open it, was found right on Clinton Street, right in front of where my workshop is. It's maybe someone left it for me, but I don't know, because it was a couple years ago before my channel was popular. The hinges are disconnected, and I always meant to restore it. But just like that, I found that in front of my shop. This is from the Lower East Side. on the street. These tables I made on the set of a TV show I did called Trash to Cash in 2002 from wood we found in the garbage. So these two tables were made from wood I found in the garbage. This mirror was found in the streets of New York. This painting I found in New York City, and there's something special about it. I don't know exactly what it is. It really reminds me, even though it's a kid's painting maybe, it really has a 1950s feel to it. And it was made in 1956 by whoever this is. So if anybody knows who this artist is, or maybe it's just a kid who did it and his parents dated it. Something about it, I kept it. I think it's really cool. It's painted with like water-based paint, so it cracks off a little bit, so it needs to be restored. Not really. It'll never be restored, but it's just a cool, old-looking child's painting that I found in the garbage. This beautiful fan, probably from Crate and Barrel, still works, was in the garbage. These two mannequins I found in Soho, in the garbage, in Soho, New York. Mommy and baby. And they're so stained up and creepy looking, it kind of reminds me of a horror movie. And the fact that the mother's sulking, you see, she's got like a, she's sulking from being so sad and old. She should be like this, but she's like that. So these two things always had a lot of personality for me. Found on the streets of New York. This I bought at a garage sale for 10 bucks. With this fish on it. But the fish is missing the fin. So that's why it was 10 bucks. The guy thought he could get hundreds if the fish wasn't broken. But I could obviously fix that, but I haven't done it yet. It's on the list. So some of the rooms in the house aren't open. We rent the house, but we lock some of the rooms off for storage and whatever. But in this room, I found this painting I found on the streets of New York. It's nothing fancy, but the ornate frame just gives like an ambiance. It sort of fits in with the style of the house. And here is that other chair that I told you I had one just like it. It's missing this part, so it's not exactly the same, but it's the same shape as far as the seat goes. Styling's not as drastic as the other one now that I'm noticing. But I found both these chairs at around the same time. What have we learned? A lot of chairs and a lot of mirrors in the garbage in New York City. And occasionally a lamp. So I made this cabinet based on this mirror that I found in the street. Just a simple cabinet. When I first bought the house, I started making things that I thought it would need. This sink is from the streets of New York. I was lucky enough to find it. I had to put the hardware on it because the hardware that was on it was not pretty. This toilet, I found the bottom half in a construction site that was being thrown away, and I bought the top half from Home Depot. It's a Kohler, so this is all from Home Depot. Again, another construction site, guy was getting rid of it, only had the bottom. I had to buy the top. One of my neighbors was moving and needed to leave right away, and he said 50 bucks. So I've had that for years, found it on my block from one of my neighbors that was moving. And right outside the bedroom, found this in the street, and I reupholstered it, or I recovered it with burlap. So this is from Astoria, Queens, in the garbage. This used to be my original kitchen table, but I changed it out to the one that's in there now. I made this based on these legs that I found in the garbage. And it's been outside for a long time, so now it's getting really weathered. It needs a good sanding and a good painting. But that's what we like when the weather does its work on wood like this. It makes it look nicer. These asbestos tile cutters from the garbage in Long Island. And occasionally I see them at antique shops for hundreds of dollars. Nobody knows what they're for. They're useless now because this style of siding is no longer in use. But these cool, crazy looking things are just cool to have. My dad actually found them in Long Island for me and gave them to me. This I paid for, but it's right from my block in the Lower East Side on Clinton Street. These guys were moving, And I just kind of jokingly said, "Can I buy the old safe?" And he said, "Sure, have you seen it?" And I was only kidding, I didn't see it yet. But he says, "We have one in the office because you could have it for $100. So I bought that old safe for $100 from Rothstein's Hardware that had been there for 70 years. And this is our messy kitchen table. And this table I made probably 20 years ago. These are legs from tablelegs.com. I made the table out of rough cut lumber. And it's about 15, 20 years ago, I can't remember. And we had no room for it at one point, so it sat outside. It literally sat in the backyard for probably 5 years. And I thought it was going to rot away. But one day Taylor said, "Let's get this back in the house." And we sanded it and polished it and replaced it with the one that I just showed you on the back porch. And this has been our kitchen table. It's a little skinnier, and it's getting a nice patina from Brie wax and just waxing it from time to time. And then just, naturally, and the natural patina from just being used. So my neighbor was cutting his winter logs, and I saw this crazy log lying in his driveway, and I went over and I bought it from him. It's an oak tree, but look inside. Totally hollow. So I don't know, I'll make a treasure chest or something. But what I want to... Did I tell you where I got these church pews from?
No, where?
These church pews my dad salvaged from Long Island. This one you painted white, right? You washed it white?
Yeah.
And then the other one in the front. So this one sat outside for a really long time because this porch roof wasn't always here. So this one got exposed to the weather for a long time. So this one's a little bit beat up.
Woo!
But the other one, this is the other church pew salvaged from Long Island. This one's in good shape because it was not outside for 5 years. It's been in this covered porch. And this is where we keep our pellets because we go right inside in there in our pellet stove. So 2 church pews from Long Island. My dad literally took them out of the garbage. So this old chamber stove, what year is this from?
I don't know, 50s something?
40s, 50s chamber stove. It's in good shape. Apparently, it's in good shape. Apparently it works for propane. Guys in the city know I bought this house, and so they called me and said, "Do you want to take it?" I took it. We still haven't had a chance to restore it and get it going. If anybody wants to trade it in for a better one, if you restore them or if you know how to get these fixed, let me know. But I'd like to just trade it in for one that's already done for the discount. Thanks. These lights I got at a construction site. They were throwing them away. I took them, and now they're in our kitchen. Beautiful antique lights. And I found these in a dumpster. I found 3 sets, and in the past, many years ago, I sold the other 2 sets. This is my last set. So what I think I might do is mold them, make a mold of them and cast them in concrete. That's a future video that I would like to do. And then under here you can see pedestal sinks I found in the city in a dumpster in one particular hole. I got like 5 pedestal sinks, which I'll sell or do something with. I only need to make over 1 more bathroom in the house, so I'm going to save the best one and bring it upstairs. Here's another lamp from the city streets. This one is actually old, you can tell by the plug. I haven't tried to rewire it or anything yet. But it takes these little candelabra bulbs and then one big bulb, which actually is a real big bulb. It's kind of an odd size, so one of these days I'll rewire the whole thing. So that's all the collection of stuff I found on the street that's up here at the house. There's a ton of stuff in New York, of course, but that's just what I have at the house that we use as furniture. What do you think? What do you say every time I find something in the garbage?
I just keep walking at you.
She doesn't want to stop. But then when I bring it home and clean it up and paint it, what do you say?
Sometimes it's nice.
Sometimes it's nice. Okay, that's enough. Thank you.